Dankeschön. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Dandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vishnupad Paramahansa Acharya Sadadada Sri Srima Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Samahara Bhupat Ki Ananda Kodi Vaishnavananda Ki Jai Namacharya Thakur Ki Jai Prem Jaga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasudeva Bhaktavinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Bhava Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Guriran Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Madhukam Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktanda Ki Jai Gauda Pramanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pashchachari Shattarine. So we continue with the Transcendental Diary by Hari Sauri Prabhu. And Prabhupada is still in Vrindavan Dham, 1976. There is no question of merging. Brahmajyoti means it is a combination of millions and millions of sparks of living entities. That is Brahmajyoti. They are not mixed up. They are just like the sunshine. The sunshine, it is not one homogeneous substance. There are millions and trillions of shining particles. Combination is called sunshine. It is not that they are merged. Similarly, every individual soul is individual. Krishna says, Arjuna, you, me, and all these soldiers and kings, they were existing before, they are now existing, and they will continue to exist in the future. So where is mixture? There is no question of merging. Mamaivang sajiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Bhagavad Gita 15:7. Eternally they are individuals, and eternally they will keep individual. The real idea of merging into God's existence, Prabhupada told us, is displayed right here in Vrindavan. Just like we are here, mixed together, we have got individuality, but for a certain purpose, we are sitting together very peacefully, and the real purpose is to learn how to serve Krishna. So when we agree to serve Krishna, then that is mixing up of the devotees. What is Vrindavan? The devotees of Vrindavan, they are all individuals. The gopis are individuals, the cowherd boys are individuals, the calves are individuals, the cows are individuals. Everyone is individual, but the purpose is how to love Krishna. That is formless. There's no disagreement. There's no disagreement in that purpose. The gopis are trying to satisfy Krishna. The cowherd boys are trying to satisfy Krishna. Mother Yashoda is trying to satisfy Krishna. Nanda Maharaj is trying to satisfy Krishna. The whole center is how to satisfy Krishna. That oneness is required. Not that I become one with Krishna. That is not possible. So this is the Bhagavad Gita's instruction. One should not begin to become a guru or to cheat the disciples, showing him wrong path. That is not good. That is instructed by Rishabdev. Hare Krishna. Any questions? So this is a nice example that Prabhupada gave. He gave it many times. Just like that we are like the particles of the sunshine. The sunshine is emanating from the sun, and it consists of innumerable little particles, shining particles. And the same way, the Brahma Jyoti also consists of shining particles. We always heard that this is the effulgence emanating from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Prabhupada mentions here a verse, Mamaivang sajiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The Bhagavad Gita says that the living entities are the eternal parts of Krishna. Eternal parts, like we mentioned many times. When you speak of part, you become a part when you have been one with something else. Just like a piece of paper, you cut it in many little pieces, and the original paper is not anymore, only particles. But Krishna says, Sanatana. These parts are eternal. There was never a time when we were one with Krishna, nor will there ever be a time when we will merge into Krishna, like the impersonalists are proclaiming. This is an incomplete conception of Brahman. Brahman actually means spiritual. And the Supreme Brahman is the cause of everything. And it is not impersonal, but it is personal, has qualities. Not only qualities, it has activities. Just like Prabhupada gave an example, when somebody is sick and he's cured, he doesn't remain laying on the bed, but he gets up and acts. That's a symptom of his health. So in the same way, to aspire to become one and inactive, impersonal, is an imperfect conception, incomplete perception. Beyond the material manifestation, there's the Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual energy. Like I mentioned, innumerable living entities, shining living entities. But Prabhupada mentioned once that, when you come to that platform of impersonal realization, you cannot remain there for long. Why? Because we are originally active living entities. And to be merged in the Brahman, to merge into the Brahman is incomplete. Sooner or later we want to act. We want to act again. And as soon as we have the desire to act, without having our intelligence sufficiently purified, we become attracted to material activities. And we fall down again. Just like there's a nice example. From the surface of the ocean, water emanates. And it goes up and forms clouds. And the clouds are moving. And they go and distribute the water on the land. On the land, the water is again collected. First just little bit, and then it unites, ultimately becomes rivers. The water becomes rivers, and then again it goes into the ocean. And from the ocean it's again evaporated and goes to the clouds. It's a cycle, a cycle. But from the depths of the ocean, there's so many living entities, fish and so many plants also. They never go to the clouds. They never go up to the clouds. They're busy, they're active. In the same way, in the depths of the spiritual world, there's so many innumerable personalities with activities. But the difference is that in the spiritual world, everything is Krishna-centered. That makes a difference. Whereas in the material world, all these rebellious little souls, they want to be independent. They want to be the center. They want to be the enjoyers. They want to be number one. The controllers. that. Anyway, so Prabhupada quotes this verse, Mamai Vangsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sana, Manasatan, Pragitisha Nikarshati. It's a very important verse. Where this phenomena or this truth is explained by Krishna, that we are eternal parts and parcels. We never stop existing as individuals. Srila Prabhupada ki? Any question? Anything caught your attention of what I read about Prabhupada? Prabhupada saying? No, Prabhupada's preaching always. Prabhupada was always preaching. At night he was preaching in the form of his books. And then he would talk to, give class. Then there were some necessities of eating and massage and take a little nap and all that. But the rest of the time, Prabhupada was always preaching. And devotees were very, very keen to get important persons to see Srila Prabhupada. There's a whole collection of conversation with Srila Prabhupada in London, for example. Shamasundar was very expert in bringing important people to Prabhupada, professors and religious leaders and artists and like this. Once there was a person who had he was an artist, a famous artist. I think it was a painter or sculptor or something like that. Anyway, so Shamasundar brought him from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada started preaching to him about Krishna. And then the man said, I have a question. Everything is created. Who created Krishna? And Prabhupada said, first try to understand Krishna, and then this will be automatically answered. Isn't it? When we become devotees in the beginning, our philosophy might be a little complicated or very broad and very deep and all that. But as soon as we start chanting Hare Krishna and associate with the devotees, all this becomes naturally revealed, and you go more into, we go deeper and deeper into it, not by your academic qualification, but because you're surrendering to Krishna, and Krishna is within your heart, and Krishna gives you intelligence. Krishna enlightens you more and more from within, and these things become reasonable and become a fact. So Krishna consciousness is a fact, yes. When you saw Prabhupada preaching or heard in his class, he was completely convinced that this Krishna consciousness was a reality. Krishna was a reality. So what? So we go to the Caitanya Caritamrita if there's no more questions. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Often Srila Prabhupada speaks about this Maya philosophy.
Yeah.
And if it's also because it's in Western religions somehow.
In the beginning, when Prabhupada, when he came to New York and he started speaking, he many times mentioned Mayavadis. And so I heard that one devotee asked Prabhupada, you always speaking about, who are these Mayavadis? And Prabhupada said, you are the Mayavadis. Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Advaita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Du musst mir helfen, das hat sich hier umgestellt. Okay then. So we're reading from the Caitanya Caritamrita, like every Sunday morning. And we are reading from the Adi Lila, 17th chapter, verse 60. Arae kavipraila kirtana likite. Dvare kapatana paila vitare yaite. Arae kavipraila kirtana lakite. Dvare kapatana paila vitare yaite. Kavipaya kirtana dekite. Vareka kapatana paila vitare yaite. Noch jemand? Ara eka vipraila kirtana dekite. Ara eka vipraila kirtana dekite. Vareka patana paila vitara yaite. Vareka patana paila vitare yaite. Ara eka vipraila kirtana dekite. Ara eka vipraila kirtana dekite. Vareka patana paila vitare yaite. Ara. Another. Eka. One. Vipra. Brahmana. Aila. Came. Kirtana. Chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Dekite. To see. Dvare. In the gateway. Kapata. The door. Being closed. Napaila. Did not get. Bitare. Inside. Yaite. To go. Translation. Another Brahmana came to see the kirtan performance, but the door was closed, and he could not enter the hall. So there's no purpose. We'll continue with the next one. Vidigela vipragade manadukapanya Aradinya pravuke kahe gangaya lagapanya. He returned home with an unhappy mind. But on the next day he met Lord Caitanya on the bank of the Ganges and spoke to him. That Brahmana was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Thus he broke his sacred thread and declared, I shall now curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. The Brahmana cursed the Lord. You shall be bereft of all material happiness. When the Lord heard this, he felt great jubilation within himself. Prabhuda shapavartaye sunishadavan Brahma shapahaite tara haya paritrana. Any faithful person who hears of this Brahmana's cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahminical curses. Purport. One should know with firm conviction that the Lord, being transcendental, is never subject to any curse or benediction. Only ordinary living entities are subjected to curses and the punishments of Yamaraj. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is beyond such punishments and benedictions. When one understands this fact with faith and love, he personally becomes free from all curses uttered by Brahmanas or anyone else. This incident is not mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this is interesting. You know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though the Brahmana tries to curse him, he felt relieved. He felt very, very, very good. Because it's actually a benediction. For sannyasis, it's a benediction. Just like Daksha also, there's a story in the pastimes, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Daksha. Cursed Narada Muni. Daksha was a very powerful personality. He was actually living at the beginning of the creation. He was a direct son of Lord Brahma. So he was very, very powerful. He was one of the Prajapatis. Prajapati means they were supposed to create all the living entities, have many, many sons. So Daksha had how many? 10,000, no? How was it? Yeah. 10,000. He had 10,000 sons. And he sent them to the forest to practice tapasya, to help him propagate the universe with innumerable sons like that, to continue the tradition. And so they went to the forest and they practiced heavy austerities to become materially successful. And all of a sudden, Narada Muni passed by. Narayan, 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 with his tambura, Totung, 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 Narayan, totung, totung. And he saw all these young boys, and he felt a lot of compassion with them because he knew what was going on, that they were practicing all these austerities that's to become successful on the material platform. Just like the students, they go to university, they study, they practice all kinds of austerities to get their title, pass the exams and all this. This is material. In order to get some money, good money, they have to have a special post and all that, like this. So Narada Muni felt great compassion with these young boys, and he started preaching to them. And as he was preaching to them, they lost all interest in material education and material this and that, and they became devotees. They renounced everything because of the association, the danger of associating with devotees. Be aware, when you associate with devotees, you might get detached from the material world, from material life. Anyway, and they all became devotees. And Daksha, when he noticed that, he controlled his anger. He didn't say anything yet. So then he created another 10,000 sons. And again he sent them to the forest to practice austerities. And as they were practicing austerities, again Narada Muni came. Narayan tung tung tung, Narayan tung tung tung. And again he saw these boys practicing austerities for nothing, for material gains. And he again started preaching to them. And they lost interest in material life also. And Daksha was so angry, but he didn't say anything yet. And he created another 10,000. And again the same thing happened. And then Daksha cursed Narada Muni. He said, I curse you to not be able to reside in a place more than a moment. And Narada Muni thought, blessed. So he wouldn't get entangled with anything. That's what you're supposed to do when you're sannyasi. Not get entangled. That's why the sannyasis should always travel. Actually, sannyasis should not stay longer than 3 days in one place. There's a saying in English, if you stay longer than that, you're not a visitor, you're not a guest anymore. You become like part of the family, more or less. So when this happened, Narada Muni felt very blessed also by this curse. And in order to avoid the same thing to happen again, Daksha created girls. Because he knew that Narada Muni is sannyasi, he will not associate with the ladies and will not start preaching to them. But Narada Muni thought very blessed. He felt very blessed with the same thing. And now we hear the same thing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When you curse somebody like this Brahmana, it's mentioned here that he was known, or he was, used to curse. Become angry and curse others. But when he applied this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very grateful. He was very thankful, very grateful. Anyway, we'll just continue. Any questions regarding this? Yeah.
I remember that in one paper, Srila Prabhupada wrote something like, it's also our family curse, so it's also...
Oh yeah, right. So when Narada Muni was cursed like that, Prabhupada said that this curse comes through the disciplic succession. And then Prabhupada said, and now that I'm very much senior, very old, I expect my disciples to continue accepting the curse also. Because Prabhupada mentioned that at one point the spiritual master, he's always traveling and preaching, and especially as a sannyasi. So then Prabhupada said, now I'm very old, and I actually would prefer to sit in one place and finish the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I expect from my disciples that they go out and preach and make devotees like that. Actually, Prabhupada never did this. He said it, but he never did. The Prabhupada was once, I think it was in Los Angeles, and devotees were going with Prabhupada in the lift, like a Fahrstuhl. And then one devotee, actually was the Gauradesh, he was in charge of the BBT at that time, important post in the GVC, and the BBT. And he said to Prabhupada, now we have a nice apartment for you, and now you can stay here and translate peacefully. We take care of everything else. The Prabhupada looked at him and said, I want to die on the battlefield. Hare Krishna. Mukunda dattere kaira danda parasara kandila tarara chittera sava avasada. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Mukunda Datta with punishment, and in that way vanquished all his mental depression. Purport. Mukunda Datta was once forbidden to enter the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because of his mixing with the Mayavadi impersonalists. When Lord Chaitanya manifested his Mahaprakash, he called all the devotees one after another and blessed them, while Mukunda Datta stood outside the door. The devotees informed the Lord that Mukunda Datta was waiting outside, but the Lord replied, "I shall not soon be pleased with Mukunda Datta." For though he explains devotional service along devotees, he then goes to the Mayavadis to hear from them the Yoga Vasishta Ramayana, which is full of Mayavad philosophy. For this I am greatly displeased with him. Hearing the Lord speak in this way, Mukunda Datta, standing outside, was exceedingly glad that the Lord would at some time be pleased with him, although he was not pleased at that moment. But when the Lord understood that Mukunda Datta was going to give up the association of the Mayavadis for good, he was pleased, and he at once called to see Mukunda. Thus he delivered him from the association of the Mayavadis and gave him the association of pure devotees. Actually, there's a warning in the Chaitanya Caritamrita from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we should avoid association with Mayavadis. Because it's I don't know the exact wording, but it says that more or less that when you do that, you lose your your faith in devotional service. Because the Mayavadis are not interested in devotional service, and that's why Prabhupada said that the impersonal realization is the last Falle? What is that? Thread. No, last.
The last snare of Maya.
Huh?
The last snare of Maya.
Yeah. I don't know in Spanish the word. Falle. Yeah. What? Trap. That's it. No, it's the last trap of Maya. You practice all these austerities and study the Vedanta Sutra and become more and more purified, this and that, and and then the ultimate issue, when you're there, instead of surrendering to Krishna, you go astray. That's actually what's happening. And that means after a while you have to come back to the material world. Like I mentioned many times, that this impersonal realization is not completely satisfying the soul. Prabhupada said that that sooner or later the Mayavadi Mayavadi, they become bored. Die langweilen sich an der Position, weil da keine Aktivitäten ist, kein Austausch, keine Gemeinschaft. Ja? So this is an example that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us. We should be very, very careful not hearing from unauthorized persons giving comments on these very important matters, spiritual matters. That's why it also says that one has to receive this knowledge through disciplic succession of Vaishnavas, devotees. And we only repeat what we have heard. Of course also, our own realizations also, but always based on Shastra. That's why Prabhupada said the Shastras are the basis. That's why Prabhupada said in learned circles, Vaishnava circles, as soon as somebody says something, he has to back it up with Shastra. Or he says something, normally the Vaishnavas are very eager to know where it comes from. Where did you get it? Where did you hear this? Where it says in the Shastra. No? And when we hear Prabhupada's classes, like every Monday we hear this Bhagavatam class of Srila Prabhupada, no? Then it's amazing, how Prabhupada always backs up what he says by Shastra. He knew so much Shastra, so many verses, it's inconceivable how much knowledge Prabhupada had. And not only that, Prabhupada was so expert in sometimes, like for example, now again here, Mamai Vangsa Jiva Loke, Prabhupada quotes this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. No? Often when Prabhupada quoted verses, it was amazing how in what relation he quoted that verse. That we would have never thought that had something to do with this. No? Yeah. Anyway, so continue. Any questions regarding this? What we read? Acharya Gosani Prabhu Kare Guru Bhakti Tahate Acharya Badahaya Dukkabhati. Huh? No. Lord Chaitanya respected Advaita Acharya as his spiritual master. But Advaita Acharya Prabhu was greatly aggrieved by such behavior. There's no purport to it. No, but there's a pastime in the Chaitanya Caritamrita that Advaita Acharya always saw that Chaitanya was chastising his disciples, correcting his disciples, disciplining his disciples. No? But he was treating him with utmost respect, and like it says here, accepting practically as his spiritual master. No, paid obeisances to him and all this. No? Imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead paying obeisances to somebody else. No? So, but he felt unsatisfied that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always so respectful with him and never chastised him. No? And all of a sudden he started speaking Mayavadi philosophy. Wow, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately smashed him, and he was in bliss. No? Like I mentioned, sometimes. No? That's actually the real relationship with the spiritual master. As long as the spiritual master is just very diplomatic with you, and that's okay. This is part of his mercy. But actually, when it becomes serious, when the devotee is actually surrendered, the spiritual master can tell him things that he wouldn't have accepted so easily in other conditions. Just like Arjuna, he was playing the role of a friend in Bhagavad Gita. He was Krishna's friend, and so they were talking like friends. And then at one point, Arjuna didn't come to a conclusion. He had a problem, and he wanted to solve this problem. And then he surrendered to Krishna. He said, "Now I'm a soul surrendered to you. Please instruct me. Whatever you say, I accept." And immediately Krishna said, "You speaking, what is that? What was that again? Somebody remembers from Bhagavad Gita?
Said to Arjuna.
Huh? You're speaking like as if you were very intelligent, but actually you're a fool. No? As soon as Arjuna surrendered, Krishna didn't say, "Oh no, come on, no, get up," and this. He said, no. He actually, when he saw that he surrendered, he pushed him even further down. Yeah, because this is what is required. Yeah? But when our devotion is not so great, then the spiritual master cannot tell us things actually to correct us, because there's false ego, there's so much attachment and all these things. We think now we're devotees. Yeah, I'm a devotee. Kind of, look at me. I'm a devotee. I'm special. I'm the center of everything. Yeah. But as soon as we surrender, and that's what we're learning in Krishna consciousness. It's the whole process is to surrender more, more, and more and more. Because our problem is that we think that we rebels of Krishna. We have invented so much philosophy, so many isms as manifestations of our rebelry. I said in English, yeah, rebeldia, they say in Spanish. Yeah? So we're just rebels, and we don't want to surrender to Krishna. So the process of Krishna, the process of sadhana bhakti, is that we become more and more regulated, become more disciplined, we accept more and more. The temple commander can give us difficult service, we don't argue anymore. No? Yeah. Until advanced devotee means completely surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. Ready to do anything for Krishna. Even though it's difficult. Just like Prabhupada came to the West under the order of his spiritual master. He said, you go and preach in the West in the English language. At that time Prabhupada was married. He took it very serious, but he kind of, what? I should go? I mentioned before that at one point Prabhupada was even thinking that, let me make some money, some business, to get some money, because if I go to America, then I have to get some money. I have to carry some money, otherwise I can't do anything there. And after a while, his whole business went down. It went down and down and down. And it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam when the husband is not successful anymore in his effort or his maintenance, then naturally the other members of the family lose respect. And that was happened to Prabhupada also. His family member lost respect because he couldn't produce any more as he had produced before. And in that condition, it's easier. Krishna makes the arrangement that in this condition it's easier to give up things and dedicate to something more, something spiritual, spiritual life. Any more questions with it, maybe? Okay. That's mentioned here. Actually, the pastime is coming here now. Thus, he whimsically began to explain the path of philosophical speculation, and the Lord, in his anger, seemingly disrespected him. At that time, Advaitacharya was greatly pleased. The Lord understood this, and he was somewhat ashamed, but he offered Advaita his benedictions. Why was he ashamed? Because he had accepted, like it's mentioned here, Advaitacharya just on the same level as his own spiritual master. Why was that? Because he was actually the god brother of his own spiritual master. They had been initiated by Madhavendra Puri. Anyway. So, just like Nityananda also. He was also a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt ashamed, that he had offended somebody superior. At that time, Advaitacharya was greatly pleased. The Lord understood that, and he was somewhat ashamed, but he offered Advaitacharya his benediction. Purport. Advaitacharya was a disciple of out of Madhavendra Puri. Ishvara Puri's spiritual master. Therefore, Ishvara Puri, the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was Advaitacharya's godbrother. In view of this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu treated Advaitacharya as his spiritual master. But Sri Advaitacharya did not like this behavior of Lord Chaitanya, for he wanted to be treated as his eternal servant. Advaita Prabhu's aspiration was to be servant of the Lord, not his spiritual master. He therefore devised a plan to antagonize the Lord. He began to explain the paths of philosophical speculation in the midst of some unfortunate Mayavadis. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about this, immediately went there, in a very angry mood, began to beat Advaitacharya. At that time, Advaitacharya, greatly pleased, began to dance, saying, "Just see how my desire has now been fulfilled. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to treat me honorably for so long, but now he's treating me neglectfully. This is my reward. His affection for me is so great that he wanted to save me from the hands of the Mayavadis." Hearing this statement, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was somewhat ashamed, but he was very pleased with Advaita Acharya. Any question? Okay. Murari Gupta Mukhesuni Rama Guna Grama Lalate Likila Tandra Ramadasanama. Murari Gupta was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. When Lord Chaitanya heard Lord Ramachandra's glories from his mouth, he immediately wrote on his forehead, Ramadas, the eternal servant of Lord Ramachandra. Sridharera Laula Padrikaina Jalapanya Samasta Bhakti Dina Ishtabaradana. Once Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Sridhar after kirtan and drank water from his damaged iron pot. When he bestowed his benediction upon all the devotees, then he bestowed all benediction upon all the devotees according to their desires. Purport. After the mass Nagara Sankirtan in protest against the magistrate Chand Kasi, the Kasi was converted to a devotee. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned with his Sankirtan party to the house of Sridhar, and Chand Kasi followed him. All the devotees rested there for some time and drank water from Sridhar's damaged iron pot. The Lord accepted the water because the pot belonged to a devotee. Chand Kasi then returned home. The place where they rested is still situated on the northeastern side of Mayapur, and it is known as Kirtan Vishrama Sthana, the resting place of the Sankirtan party. Yeah, this is another holy place in Mayapur. Normally when we go on parikrama in Mayapur, we visit all these most sacred places of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. Haridasa Thakurere Kalila Prasada Archayastane Matara Kandaira Aparadha. After this incident, the Lord blessed Haridas Thakur and vanquished the offense of his mother at the home of Advaitacharya. Purport. On the Mahaprakash day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Haridas Thakur and informed him that he was none other than an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. When Vishwarupa took sannyas, Sachimata thought that Advaitacharya had persuaded him to do so. Therefore she accused Advaitacharya of this, which was an offense at his lotus feet. Later, Lord Chaitanya induced his mother to take the dust of the Vaitachaya's lotus feet, and thus her Vaishnava Parada was nullified. Yeah, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed that Haridas Thakur was an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. The same Prahlad Maharaj, who was son of Hiranyakashipu. And but then, sorry. When Vishvarupa took sannyas, Sachimata thought that Advaitacharya had persuaded him. Vishvarupa was a brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was actually a form of Baladeva. At that time there were two manifestations of Baladeva, Nityananda and Vishvarupa, the brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this brother Vishvarupa took sannyas very early. And his father, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father and mother were very depressed, felt very bad about it. And at that point Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even promised them that he would never take sannyas. And then he took sannyas later. Yeah. But his mother put a condition. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, she put a condition. Like we heard the other day that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted his mother very much. He felt very obliged to his mother. He actually said that she was the owner of his form because she was the mother. And so the mother put a condition, after he came back and had taken sannyas, she put a condition. She said, now please stay in Puri, Jagannath Puri. So it's close. So I can get, news. News from you, from your activities. There was no internet yet. There was no Facebook and all this. Communication was very difficult around those times. You never knew where all these great personalities were. You could hear the news from somebody who had been with them, but they had met them a month or 2 or 3 months ago, because all these sannyasis and devotees would walk. They would go by, don't take planes, airplanes and buses like that. So everything was very stretched out. Time was stretched out. Just like it says when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, when he was 24 years, at 24 he took sannyas, very early. And then he traveled for 6 years without stoppage. And what does that mean? Walking. He was walking. And then all of a sudden he appeared somewhere and made everyone chant Hare Krishna and dance with him. And then he disappeared again. It says when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and the notice was spread that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, from far away people would start running to see him. And there were no obstacles. They crossed mountains and they crossed rivers just to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then it says sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he was there, he was dancing and chanting, and so many people will come together. And then all of a sudden Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared. Normally he disappeared early in the morning when everyone was sleeping. So they didn't notice that he was leaving. Yeah. And when they noticed that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't there anymore, they sent people in all directions to look for him. They never found him. And I think I mentioned that the other day, sometime. Yeah? And then people would grab where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has sat, where he was standing, he was sat. They grabbed the Staub, what is it? They grabbed the dust, of that place, and they grabbed so much dust that big holes were manifesting in that place, in those places. These were the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Any questions? We're coming to an end here. Now it's time to discuss a little further, if you want. Yeah?
About the brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
With it?
About the brother of
Oh, yes.
He also traveled and preached, or what?
Yes. He disappeared.
It's not so much.
Apparently there's not much. There's a pastime that I think I've mentioned that several times already. That when Chaitanya, his brother was already older, and his brother was taking part in the meetings of advanced devotees, like in the house of Advaitacharya. He went there because there were all these topics were only Krishna and his pastimes and this. They were chanting Hare Krishna. And so sometimes the mother, Sachi mother, sent Chaitanya Nimai Pandit to get him back home to take prasad. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, Nimai Pandit, appeared in the middle of these Vaishnavas. And they couldn't believe it. They looked and stared at him. They couldn't believe why this child was so special, so attractive, so beautiful. And then Vishvarupa went with him, and all the Vaishnavas were following him, the child. Yeah. There's also mentioned when he grew up and he became Nimai Pandit, the Pandit. He was winning all arguments with all the Brahmins and all the erudite people, learned people. And so they avoided him because they knew he would just smash their philosophy and like that. And it says that, and also when he met devotees, he would also challenge them. And he would always win the arguments. That's why devotees avoided him. When they saw him from far, they went another way immediately. They were fearing him. Yeah. This was before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested his real identity, his mission. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki
Bhakti Bhusana Maharaj ki Jai.
Guru Prasad Maharaj ki Jai. He's here soon. I think he arrives already now, no? I guess he will come to the temple first before he